have to continue to work on it now. My name is Paul James. I host English News every morning.
And a golden angel award ceremony.
Hello, dear friends, my lovely audiences. Welcome to the East-West Show, a show talking about right and wrong, a show talking about the truth, nothing but the truth, the naked truth, exclusively sponsored by Wolfers. A prominent life must be matched with the palace-grade jewelries. Wolfers, the Belgian royal family designated brand of jewelries with 400 years of glorious history and hand-forged by 10 generations of the master craftsman, a testimony to the spectacular and a share of the royal glory. Wolfers, the palace-grade artistic jewelries. So back to the show. Today with me is my good friend Ken Hemming, who we haven't seen for 2 weeks.
So sad.
Too long, isn't it?
Probably too short for the viewers.
Anyway, too long. I really have to work to resume the old schedule to do it on a weekly basis rather than bi-weekly.
I love it.
Anyway, I'm glad you're here. Finally, we'll see each other.
I'm honored to be in this studio with you and your viewers on planet Earth, and I'm humble and appreciative.
Yeah, it is only because that there are so many things happening on the global Earth, in the lovely country of ours.
Yes.
So, well, twice a week is really too little.
Yeah, every 2 weeks, too little.
Okay. Now, today we want to cover two major subjects. One of the biggest subjects on the global Earth now, it looks that way, the issue of the border close-up.
Yes, the potential.
Right? The potential. President Donald Trump has warned us that sometime, somehow, he is considering of closing the border, right? And of course, that's a very controversial call. And I hear criticism from all directions, even criticism of the Republicans themselves. So I would like to hear from you, my dear brother, Mr. Ken Hemming. Your take. How about your take?
Let me tell you, I have a home, and if somebody breaks into my home, I will do my best to protect myself. Mm-hmm. We have a country, and when people break in illegally to come into our country, some of which are real nice people, and yet all know they're doing an illegal act, and some are not nice, and some Americans then are suffering as victims of crime. I personally don't care if I have avocados, okay, because they say, oh, wow, we won't get all the avocados from Mexico if we close the border. People are putting the dollar ahead of the humanity and the safety of our citizens. And so if we have to close it, the president is getting very inadequate support from Congress. They could, if the Democrats would just say, okay, let's do something, it's very easy. Well, I just listened to the ambassador from Israel to the United States today. They have two big walls, and they had 60,000 people come in like 10 years ago from Egypt, okay, and had a lot of crime and problems. And they put up this barrier, and it got down to nobody's coming in. If we don't protect our nation, and this, of course, is not just my words, we don't have a nation. A nation must be sovereign. And when people have easy access and egress, it's not sovereign.
All right.
So I support the president.
Okay, good.
I'm disgusted with Congress.
That's all I need from you.
To disagree.
To get a definition.
Yeah.
Or one word, say you are supporting or you are not supporting.
I support.
As to protect the country,
yeah.
As to love the country, as a patriotism concerned, it has nothing to do whether you're supporting or not supporting. Because other people who claim to love the country, who claim to be patriotic, they go against the idea. So
Jack,
the idea itself, we want to discuss about it, and doesn't have a label of being patriotic or not.
It has a label of commitment to safety and security of American citizens.
I hold different views.
Good.
Between you and me, we argue, we agree, we disagree, and of course, we love the fact that we argue. Right?
That we can debate.
And the more argument we make, the more common ground we find.
Absolutely.
But that's the beauty of it.
Right.
But the thing is that I want to ask you, if you recall 2 years or 3 years before, I was strongly against the wall. Am I right?
Yes.
Right. And during the cause, I kind of reshaped my take because with the intakes, with all the new feed-ins,
information,
feedbacks, right? I believe somewhere, somehow, by some extent, a wall, or literally a wall, is necessary to protect the country.
As part of the overall
As a
system of
part of
protection.
the overall plan.
Right.
For example, 700 miles of wall, 30 miles is a wall too, right? Specifically at a certain area with a certain section, we do a wall. Once we are going the forest, we're going across a big river, right? You're not talking about a wall.
Well, then, because they're not needed. They are a wall. The mountains are a wall.
That's a natural wall.
Right.
We still refer that as a wall. It's unlike the Great Wall in China.
Yeah.
You have about
2,500 miles or something.
li.
Yeah.
That's what? That's about 10,000 kilos.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
Of a length of a solid brick wall.
Yeah,
right?
amazing.
That's a different thing.
I've stood on
That's
it.
a different thing. However, I promise you that wall never worked.
Well, because it wasn't
Never
attacked.
protected China.
Well,
But it blocked China for sure, right? And that's another issue we'll share with my audiences another day, right? The thing is that when I shifted myself or reshaped myself as time goes by, right? Because with the input information like we mentioned, right, I felt it necessary. Now, to build a wall and to close up the border, they are totally different issues.
right. One is a result of a lack of.
Do you agree with me on that point?
They're different.
I need no more explanation about nature. I'm talking about they are two different issues.
Different issues.
Right? Like steak and fish, orange
That's fine,
and
yeah.
apple. How about that?
Right.
Right now. You started your statement just a while ago. When I ask you, do you support? You say, I have a home if somebody invaded,
Yes.
and I'll, of course, close my door.
Well, I will defend myself.
Yeah. Do you
You
come
will not
in?
be greeted warmly.
You will defend yourself, you
Yes,
said, right?
yes.
Okay. Now, when you defend yourself, do you make sure that you have a secure door or you nail it?
I have good doors.
No, I know.
I do.
Or you nail it.
I don't nail it. I have good doors.
Yeah.
But somebody could
Okay,
break
now,
through.
when we say, of course.
Yeah.
When we say doors, we say something that opens, that closes at certain times. We call it a functioning doors.
And we have ports of entry, which are our doors to America.
All right. First, ports of entry are the doors
They're the
of
doors.
our house.
Yes.
Am I right?
And don't come through the border.
Because it is a door that opens,
Yeah.
that closes.
Correct.
All right. Okay. And so, how do you, if you want to use pick a metaphor to describe the situation of closing the doors? The best way I can do is that you pick up 2 nails and then knock it off, close it totally.
Well, you can close these
My
ports
question
of
is
entry.
that, do you use the doors? Do you get into the home for the night? Do you open up and get out the next day?
Well, they don't leave once they get in here, Jack. They
No.
don't leave. Yeah.
Forget the thieves. The thieves are not an issue.
No, anybody.
Thieves come in any time.
Yeah.
You have a door, you do not have a door. You have a lock, you do not have a lock. You have a good lock, you do not have a good lock. They come in anyway.
But when bad people that do crimes
Bad people
come to
are
America,
bad people.
They stay
are
in America.
there. Yeah.
They stay
All
in
right.
America.
No,
They
that's a
don't
different
go back
issue.
home.
No. One by one.
Yeah.
We're talking about this one issue.
Okay.
I want to establish a philosophy
Okay.
to describe what is a door,
Yes.
a functioning door. A functioning door, to my definition, it's sometimes you can get in, you can get out, and sometimes it protects you.
And that's what our ports of entry are.
Now, does it have the connotation of closing it? When you say, I close my doors, what does that mean?
Well, it means,
You refuse even the legal entry.
well, yes.
Why?
Why? Because Mexico will not cooperate with
All right.
the flow of people
My
coming
dear friends,
here. That's exactly
my lovely audiences, let's
That's
take
why.
a short break. This show is exclusively sponsored by Wolfers. Wolfers, testimony to the spectacular and the share of the royal glory. We'll be right back.
Center ground stands
Everything
pretty
is
bad. We
expected
have
to
to
be
continue to work
It's
on
like
it
the
now.
scenes on Wayne.
My name is Paul James. I host English News here in
and a golden angel award ceremony.
Hello, lovely friends, my dear audiences. Welcome back to the show East West, talking about right or wrong, talking about the truth, nothing but the truth. When we say the truth, nothing but the truth, we apply to one simple philosophy. It is truth not because who says the truth. It is truth by nature.
Yes, the truth
By
stands
nature itself.
Stands
right?
alone.
It doesn't because that
Yeah.
when Donald Trump says the truth is the truth, when Jack Chow says a truth is not a truth. No, a truth is in the common eye.
Right.
A truth remains the truth.
alone. Yeah, the truth is
Right.
sanctity.
This show is exclusively sponsored by Wolfers. A prominent life must be matched with the palace-grade jewelries. Wolfers, the Belgian royal family designated brand of jewelries with 400 years of glorious history and hand-forged by 10 generations of the master craftsman, is exactly the kind of palace-grade jewelry. Testimony to the spectacular, a share of the royal glory. Wolfers, the palace-grade artistic jewelry. Back to the show. With me today is my dear friend, my big supporter, and a big lover of the nation as well as the community, Mr. Ken Hammy.
Thank you.
And he's a book writer himself. His book, Life is Simple, 100 Words to Live By, remains my Bible
Thank you.
every single day till now.
It is who I am.
And by the way, my wife's were reading it.
Good. I love
Because
that.
of the fact it's English and Chinese.
Yes.
It's bilingual.
Right.
She kind of doing this, the English page, Chinese page,
I like that a lot.
doing the consultation.
Helping her develop her
two-way-
English skill.
Two-way references.
Yeah.
Right.
Great.
And it's working. It's working. right?
Hallelujah.
Well, that's a great book. Thank you very much for
Yes.
your contribution to the mankind.
To our-
Call
to
it
our
that way.
societies.
Good. And very unfortunately, I cannot agree with your closing the border philosophy. Right. It is not because I do not like Donald Trump. As a matter of fact, I started liking him.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not a
It is
partisan
not
issue.
not because I pro the illegal immigrant. No, I'm talking about a fact. A country supposed to have a port of legal entry.
And we do. But
All
we
right.
have other border areas
now
open.
you are closing the legal entry, a port of entry, just because there are illegal activities. I give you an example. In Chinese, we have a proverb called 因噎废食.
Okay.
Right? Y-I-N, yin, ye, choke.
Okay.
Fei, to abolish eating.
Okay.
You understand what I mean?
I try.
Because food may choke you,
Sure.
you stop
Chew
eating.
carefully.
You stop. No, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
That's
Good,
right.
good, good.
Yeah.
Good, good. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you
exactly.
very much. Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. You be careful while eating.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. The ancestor does not teach us to stop eating
Yeah.
because food might choke you.
Yeah.
Now, because there are illegal entries to the port of legal entries, you do not want to close up the legal entry as a port to the country. So do I make a point, my dear brother? I really beg you.
Well, let me just say there are many, many illegal entries through the legal ports of entry. The drugs are hidden in also
all right.
and people are hidden in also
All
many
right,
ways.
yes.
So
yes,
because
yes.
it's a legal
Yes.
port of entry doesn't mean it's legal
I had a little
entrance.
diarrhea problem last night because I ate something I was not supposed to eat.
Right,
And I'm still eating this morning.
right.
I did not stop eating this morning because they're the illegal activities. I can't stop the legal activity. Am I
Well,
right?
you have to get the attention of Mexico. Now, let me tell you what has happened. Number one, also, Trump is considering, if he
When
does
you
it,
say you have to get attention to Mexico,
Right, we do.
You're talking about retaliation.
no, we're talking
You're
about,
talking about sanction. You're talking about teaching them a lesson.
they
right?
need to be taught a
You
lesson,
teach
Jack.
while you're
Yes, they
teaching
do.
them. Yeah, all right, good, very
Absolutely.
good. While you're teaching them a lesson, though, you are giving yourself a lesson. The lesson being that without legal entry, right, this country suffers.
You know, Jack, you have to suffer sometime to get a long-term solution to a very desperate problem. The whole reason that the Democrats don't, want everybody to come here is so hopefully they can get them to vote. It's a one-party country. That's
right.
the purpose of it all. But now Mexico has responded. They are now trying to secure their southern border. The one with America is their northern border, and they are trying to secure their southern border because so many are coming in from Honduras and other more southern South American countries. So they're starting to respond. Now Mexico needs to respond at their northern border too, and they just don't. And we must never forget that the impact of criminal cartels in Mexico is just as strong as the government. It's unbelievable. And in fact, I can't even describe it because it's
I
so
cannot
strong.
argue what you say. I
Right.
cannot not argue
Yeah,
what
it
you
is
say.
fact.
Mexico needs to do something as a country, as our
do.
neighboring country. But we're talking about ourselves.
Well, you have to sacrifice.
We
sometimes for a
cannot punish
purpose.
ourselves because we have a neighbor that is not cooperating.
Well, see, now I just disagree with the use of the word punish. I don't think it punishes ourselves. I think it protects ourselves, and I think it's a worthy act.
Do you
now,
read?
If it
do
happens,
you read? Do you read papers?
I read everything.
All right.
But do you believe
watch,
everything
Do you
in
watch
papers?
TV?
Yes.
All right. Do you take an average about how much is supporting, how much are going against it?
Jack, 93% of all media coverage is anti-Trump, anti-immigration control, anti-border control, all of it. So if you believe
poor
what you read, if you
oh,
believe
poor
what
you,
you read,
or poor Trump. Why
true.
93 instead of not 39?
because we have a lot of evil in our
Because
country.
these things are keep on going, keep on popping up. People do not
Because-
agree. People do not agree with it.
No, it's not a matter of agreement. It is a matter of their blind hatred and obstruction in their souls.
I
That's
can't
what it
correct.
is.
No, I can't change you. I can't correct you. I just want to share my view with you, with my
Yeah, that's
audience,
fine.
with my audience.
Yeah,
All
but
right?
if you believe what you
Right.
read and see
Right.
on TV, I will have to pray, because most of it is very low quality, very low integrity and ethics.
To the door thing, to the closing door thing, do you have your own judgment? Suppose you.
Oh, yeah, I sure
suppose
do.
if you.
I'd have the wall.
Yeah. Suppose if you were a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Suppose if you were a 2-year-old. Do you know a door that opens and closes? That's
All my
called
doors-
a door,
All my doors do.
right?
They open and close.
Well, unless you live in a coffin, your door is sealed
Soon.
forever.
Probably soon.
You're sealed forever.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're flipping flopping.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're going in and out.
Yeah.
At night you lock it, and daytime you open it.
Well,
Right?
only
So
to invitation.
that is because you allow only legal entrance.
By
You
invitation.
do not allow
By invitation.
well,
yes.
somebody knocks on your door.
Right. And
right?
then
Knocks
you
on
decide
your door.
what to do.
And you decide what to do.
And that's
okay?
the application
And
process
your door,
to come to
Your
America.
door is only helping you to decide who you want and who you do not
Yeah,
want.
people that apply to
Am I right?
enter our country legally are
Once
knocking on our
again,
door.
once again,
Yeah.
I'm asking you, and I'm asking you only this one time.
Yes, sir.
I will never come back on this same question.
Yes, sir.
Right? Do you close your doors because there are thieves out there? Do you
Of
nail
course.
your doors like you nail a coffin because there are thieves out there?
I lock my doors because there are bad
No,
people out
I'm
there.
asking you, do you nail your doors?
No.
Right? Why do you nail it? Why don't you nail it forever? It takes care forever, once for all.
Well, then I can't get outside and go play tennis.
All right, that is the question. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That deserves another handshake.
Yeah, absolutely,
all
bro.
And that is exactly
Yeah.
why I argue with you.
Yeah.
All right, okay. My dear friends, I can't convince this guy.
Well, I
He's
just want
too-
safety
he's
for
too
my
strong.
fellow citizens.
He's too strong. I just want to be reasonable. I want to be rational, right? I want to be reasonable.
And I want our people to be safe.
Okay? And me too. Me too.
Well, then you have to
All right. And
disallow.
I want to stop the illegal entry.
Right.
And I want to allow the legal entry. That's why we keep a port of legal entry. And you don't want to keep choke. You want to close it. Why?
Well, if-
just to
if-
say, as a word, I want to give to my audience: never stop eating because food may choke you.
And I simply put the value of life over the value of money in commerce.
All right, okay. All right, my dear friend, that concludes our second segment. With me today is my dear friend, Mr. Ken Hemming, special commentator, who I argue with all the time. I enjoy arguing with him. And, lots of fun doing it. To make a point, just to make a point, you may give us your take.
Yeah,
right?
please.
I invite you to write to me, tell my DJ, or you can say, you can write to me, jack@edimedia.com, or you can even write to my direct email, Jack, CSI, like the crime scene
Yeah, right,
inspection.
investigations, yeah.
CSI, jack@hotmail.com. We put together your opinions. Well, if you're good, we may invite you come on the show to talk about it. All right, we'll be right back. This show is exclusively sponsored by Wolfers, a testimony to the spectacular, a share of the royal glory.
Everything. We have to continue to work on it now. My name is Paul James. I host English News every morning.
And the Golden Angel Award ceremony.
Hello, dear friends, my lovely audience. Welcome back to the East West Show, a show talking about good or right, a show talking about the truth. The truth, nothing but the truth, the naked truth. Exclusively sponsored by Wolfers. Prominent life must be matched with the palace-grade jewelries. Wolfers, Belgium royal family designated brand of jewelries with 400 years of glorious history and hand-forged by 10 generations of the master craftsman. Is this exactly this kind of artistic jewelry, a testimony to the spectacular share of the royal glory? So,
Beautiful.
welcome back to the show. With me is my dear friend, Mr. Ken Hemming. And we just wrapped up on the issue of the border closing, which, matter of fact, never done because we did not make an agreement yet.
Yeah, and it probably won't be. It probably won't happen because Mexico is responding.
Hopefully. I hate to hurt the country, right?
No, it's not hurting the country.
Right. I hate to hurt
like
the
to
country
protect
anyway.
our country.
All right, good. All right. Thank you very much for protecting our country. All right,
Right.
good. Very good. What do you have as our next subject?
Well, we haven't really discussed the the shootings in New Zealand, if you're willing to chat about that a little bit.
Sure.
What happened maybe, I don't know, a month ago or something.
Yeah,
a
exactly.
Yeah.
I was so prepared to talk to you of sharing this take on this issue. It happens in between our 2-week schedule.
Yeah.
So I can't drag you over halfway though.
Right.
That's why I waited until today that you and I can put our views together on the table to share with our audiences, right? So, okay, I want you to make your start up with the whole thing.
Yeah.
What's your take?
Well, number one, each one of us cherishes our ability to breathe and continue living life as long as possible. And so when somebody who is, like a thug or mentally deranged or evil in their soul takes the lives of people, all those lives are equal in value to each other. And this particular person essentially killed 60 people in 2 mosques in New Zealand. And of course, in the mosque, you have the Muslim people that are praying and doing what they do in there. And in New Zealand, there's 4.2 million people, 46,000 Muslims in that group. And so it was a terrible tragedy. I do think New Zealand, the person said that he was radicalized in April of 2017 in some Eastern European countries, and he was not radicalized against Muslims or against Christians or against whatever, but kind of against society and capitalism and success and that. A lot of jealousy and hatred in this particular person. And then he was in New Zealand, and then he had planned this for like over a year to do something evil. And it wasn't specifically because they were Muslim, it was just because that's a pretty good target when they're all together and they're unarmed.
Okay,
so what happened then the lady that is the president or chancellor, whatever, of New Zealand, what he wanted to do was create chaos among different people. And actually, his favorite country ideologically was China. Okay, but so what's happened is they've been some great extensive coverage of the funerals and the tragedy. It's a real tragedy. But what I compare it with, in the same thing in February of this year, 120 Christians were slaughtered with machetes and guns in Nigeria, and the media does not give it very much coverage. So I'm troubled by the difference in coverage that is given to this because it did involve mosques rather than churches. And so when Christians, Christians are really terrorized around the world, and including America. So I'm upset about the difference in coverage, and it's a real big deal if certain groups get attacked, and it's not a very big deal if other groups get attacked. So and then the lady in New Zealand is coming up with these laws to try to take so many guns away and do whatever they can to limit that, but what it really limits is your ability to protect yourself. If anybody had been in that mosque with a gun, they could have taken this guy out real fast. So it's a real, it's not the gun. The gun doesn't have a soul. The gun doesn't have evil in its intent. Humans do. So, and then that reaction, and then a lot of ladies over there were wearing the shadar or something on their head to try to show unity with the Muslim women. And that's all good, except then that's sort of also then really accepting all elements of Sharia law in whatever, which, 28 of them I disagree with. So, and he also had, a lot of comments about America. This person, but for over a period, by the way, he was a bodybuilder. His dad was a triathlete that had participated tremendously. They had great
he
bodies.
Or she?
The male shooter was a personal trainer.
Enough.
And they were great.
Okay, enough. I did not interrupt you.
Yeah, that's okay.
Because I want to get a whole body of your thought.
Right.
The whole body of your
body.
thought. That's why I waited until you give us a whole description of where you come from. Right?
Well, and what happened?
Yeah. I want to do this. Once we start this discussion, I want to forget myself as a Chinese man.
Okay.
I'm
me
only
too.
one of the Earth siblings
Absolutely.
who happens to be able to talk,
Yes, sir.
right? And I want you to do the same thing, to forget you're white,
I don't care if I'm white. I never
to
think
forget
I'm white.
how white you are,
I never
and
think
you
of it.
are an Earth sibling too.
It's all I'm
You
a
and
soul.
you and I, the couple of Earth siblings,
Right.
who happen to be able to talk,
Correct.
right? Okay, now, number one, to agree with your take of the unfair coverage, though,
Different level of coverage.
a different level of coverage, though. Do you agree with me? So later, let's forget the news part.
Yes, sir.
Because the news people have to do their job of telling what had happened, what they have seen, what the public eye have seen. But you and I, when we sit here, we're not doing the news part.
No.
We're not with the camera on our shoulder to shoot what's happening
Right.
there.
Right.
We are here to share our thoughts. How do I think about what had just happened?
We're
right?
sharing our
now,
feelings and opinions and educated thoughts.
we're shifting away the news layer of the event. We're talking about in the coverage, though. How about, if I may suggest, how about instead of saying certain color people shoot certain color people,
Why didn't?
we just say people shoot people.
No problem.
How about
I
that?
don't see colors, Jack. I don't see colors.
No. When I say color,
Yeah.
I use a literary color.
Okay.
I use it in the broader sense.
Okay.
To label is with religion, to label with the origin, to label with the country origin, to label with anything, or ethnic background, though, are the color in my term.
Okay.
Right. So we just say one human being shoot the other human being. How about that?
That's fine.
Yeah. All right. And then talking about funeral, though, whoever died at that shooting.
Right.
And then you're talking about the February shooting. I agree with you. There was less coverage of the funeral, right? Now we see a lot.
And all over Europe, the
we see
same
a lot.
thing.
We see a lot. That's an unfair play. That's unfair play.
Well, it's just bias.
That's bias, right? Okay, now I'm trying to take the third perspective to look at the issue. Say people get shot, people are dead,
Okay.
right? Let's mourn them. Let's mourn their soul, right? Let's say goodbye to them. May them rest in peace, or something like that.
Absolutely.
Right. To desensitize the issue. This is the first point I want to make of desensitization. I believe the left media, the right media, the whatever media, just helped with the bad guys to make the impact even bigger.
And the reaction, I believe, in New Zealand has made it bigger. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So, do you agree with me with my first concept of the desensitization?
Well, sure, but we are emotional beings. But yes, certainly. In other words, just pure intellectual conversation is easy to do.
Thank you. And I just want to conduct a conversation. I call it an intellectual conversation. How about that?
Purity,
right?
Pure thoughts.
So we're talking about, we don't want to enlarge. It is bad already. It's bad enough already.
Pretty bad.
We shed enough tears already. We cried enough already.
Right.
All right? And then, well, when that happened. Do never enlarge it. Try to desensitize it. Right?
Okay.
So if you agree with me, and this is the first agreement that you and I make today.
It's a miracle.
All right, good. Oh my God, what
It's
a miracle that he and I even worked out one agreement.
I love miracles.
And we'll take a short moment now. we come back, we'll probably work on the second agreement.
Yes, we will.
All right. Looks as a successful day today. This show is exclusively sponsored by Wolfers, the palace-grade jewelries of the royal family, designated for 400 years in history and hand-forged by 10 generations of master craftsmen. We will be right back.
Everything expected, straight. It's like it seems wrong way.
My name is Paul James. I host English News.
And the Golden Angel Award ceremony.
Hello, dear friends, lovely audience, welcome back to the show. Every time when I make agreement with my friend Ken Hamming, I feel excited, all geared up, right? Good. And this is the show, East-West show, talking about right or wrong, choose nothing but the truth. It is exclusively sponsored by Wolfers. A prominent life must be matched with the palace-grade jewelries. Wolfers is the kind of jewelry that Belgian royal family designated brand for 400 years of glorious history and hand-forged by 10 generations of the master craftsmen. A spectacular to the testimony to the spectacular share of the royal glory. Back to the show. With me today is my good friend, Mr. Ken Hamming, a special commentator who's been with this show for 6 years?
Yeah,
five and a half.
5 to 6, yeah.
Five or six,
My
right?
life got better when I met you, Jack.
All right, good. All right, good. And at least 1/10 of your life.
Absolutely,
All right,
yeah.
good. All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you for sticking with us. All right. Because he loves the community so much.
I do.
And he can't afford to without doing it, right? And I like him for the fact that he is a straightforward man. He speaks out his mind. Be it necessary to argue with me, he argues.
Yeah.
Right. Be it necessary to agree with me, he agrees. Right. That's the good part of it, the beauty of it.
It is.
So back to the point. We were talking about what happened in New Zealand without having to give too much credit to the guy.
Right.
We
won't say his name.
We have to desensitize it.
Yeah.
Right. Now, talking about the problem, lots of people try to put some labels on the subject person, right? And XYZ kind of man killed XYZ kind of people.
Yes, sir.
That kind of thing.
Right.
So the other day when I had this conversation, the second day probably, with a friend of mine, we made this comment. This world, if you look back for 2,000 years old,
Yes, sir.
has never been at peace. Religiously, how about that?
Well, in survival too, the need for humans to survive has caused a lot of violence to happen.
Yes, you're right. However, survival has two definitions.
Yes, sir.
People fight over food
Right.
for survival.
One element of survival.
Right?
Yes.
People fight over women for regeneration. They fight.
Right.
It is another way of survival.
Yes, sir.
For water, for space,
Yeah.
for whatever,
Space is-
resources.
yeah.
These are.
Those are good.
When people started fighting for religion, though,
Ideologies. Yes.
ideology, though,
Very sad.
do you think by that point the human beings, the humanity, has elevated themselves to another level?
Well, it is.
In addition to survival, they fight over something else.
Yeah, it didn't elevate them, but lowered their standards.
All right,
Lowered their
that's a
humanity.
good take.
Right.
That's a good take.
Thank you.
I call it elevation because it is elevating.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
You call it dequalifying.
Elevating
because,
in a negative
because
way.
In a negative way.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Right? Once, twice, 3 times, 4, 5, 6, 7, all together 10 times, more than 100 years of crusade, of conquering,
Right.
including the conquering to the subject and people, group of people.
Yes, sir.
I really hate to create another hatred, right? For that many years, though, I believe something as the seeds of hatred was buried. Do you agree with me? Please.
Well, I'd like to see the seeds of hatred buried. They still.
No. When I say buried, I'm not saying buried and nailed in the coffin.
No. Okay.
I'm talking about buried in the earth, and
they blossom again.
yeah, they will blossom.
Right.
They will give
You're
bud.
right.
Right. So
Yeah.
that is one thing. That included the large scale conquer of the Byzantines.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That-
in Rome and all of this.
In Rome, all things.
All of these.
Okay, now-
So many.
Since then, the world went into, the religious war. All religious wars went into a pattern that is revenge versus retaliation, and a revenge versus another retaliation. It goes on and on and on in a negative, in a negative
negative.
rotation.
Right.
Till now, you look at even amongst themselves in Middle East,
Yes, sir.
even between Palestinians and the Israelis,
Yes.
everywhere, right? Okay, if they do not fight amongst themselves, they fight against us. When we say us, we say everybody else. So now, my question.
People seek
please,
power.
Please understand me in a way, in a very friendly way, in a very neutral way.
Yes, sir.
That I'm not a Chinese American. I'm only one
human.
of the siblings,
Yeah.
our siblings that can talk. That's it.
Right. That's it.
And you the same thing.
I agree.
That if I ask you, there had never been the crusade conquering.
Had there never been?
Never been. Had it never been of such, would the world look better?
Well, I like what you're saying a lot. The thing is, if it didn't happen, if the Crusades didn't happen when they did, there were a lot of Crusades before the Crusades. You know, in say for the first 1,000 years after Christ was born, it's the Dark Ages and up to maybe 1300, where we don't know what was going on.
If you take the human race as a show,
Yeah.
right? When they fight the wars
tragedy.
over food,
Yeah.
that's only scene one.
Right.
Scene
That's
one.
scene one.
Scene one. Or action one. Or
Right.
act one.
Right.
Right. Entering
That's the
act
survival,
two.
basic survival.
Yeah, basic survival. Entering act two on the stage though, they fight because they eat too much.
Yeah. You
Right?
know, it's power.
They fight over power.
People
They
want
fight
power.
over religion. You have to believe what I believe.
And the biggest word for peace on earth is tolerance. We gotta tolerate each other's differences.
And you have to believe what I believe. If you do not, or you
Well-
fail to believe what I believe, though,
Well, it's-
I get you killed.
Right. That's what humans have
That's
done.
act two.
Right. That's a bad
That's
act.
sin two.
Yes, sir.
Right?
It's a
That's
bad
too
act.
bad. And the sin two is still going on now.
It is.
It is, right? Now, do you agree with me on the second question, second group of question, right? We believe our laws under certain statute that is created by our background,
Yes.
historical background, or cultural background, that we believe in such as the law, right?
Yes.
Given another surrounding, given another country with another history, background of history,
it's different.
background culture, they would have created a law that is totally different from ours, or partially, or great partially
Right.
different from ours.
See what's happening.
Now, Okay,
Yeah.
right there, please.
Yes, sir.
Suppose A and B. If A criticizes B because A believes what A believes, is B happy? B will get back.
And be content.
Be content, right?
Right.
Say, hey, why do you slam on my law system,
Yeah, right.
right?
Right.
And slam on what I believe.
Right.
That's Act 3. The human fight, Stage 3. Right?
Yeah.
So Scene 3. Now we are in between Scene 2 and Scene 3. Right? You're talking about, in certain countries, the law allow a man to have 3 wives,
Right.
or 4 or 5.
Or marry a
Or
9-year-old.
in somewhere, somehow, they say, as long as you can afford.
Yeah, right. Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? So when it exists in the law term, though, let it do their way. Let them enjoy. Lucky man, I admire you. That's it.
Right. And in many, many instances, what you're saying is exactly correct. But there are things that some practices exist that really a quality human with a decent value system, like my book portrays, cannot accept it because it's not a decent human
Let
value.
them live in the way they like.
Well, except they want to expand. You
Yeah,
know,
I know.
whoever they is, they
For
want
example,
to expand.
certain people
Yeah.
eat with their fingers.
Oh, I
Right?
like that.
And then we tell them, you got to use a knife.
Yeah.
You got to use a spoon because it's not good that way. It's not healthy that way. And your fingers might carry some germs.
Yeah, that's true.
All right?
Yeah.
Okay, now, they say, okay, you do your way, I do my way. What's wrong? If I die, I'm happy. I'm die happy man. I die happy man.
Right.
So what's none of your business? If you force them to use it, they feel that you get a rebounds.
Well, right now, see, I love cultures. I love cultures. Cultures develop in regions over centuries. And then what's happening now with this almost borderless world.
My final point,
yeah.
which leads
I love
exactly,
cultures, the state
exactly my
cultures.
wish
Yeah.
to make the second agreement with you,
Okay.
is that, do you agree with me that if we will take it easy a little bit, without playing, I'm the one, you need to follow me, things will be better.
Well, sure. Right. That's tolerance.
You do, right?
And acceptance.
Tolerance, all right.
That's tolerance.
Hey, this is a second
Yeah.
handshake. No.
Yeah.
The
That's,
fourth
tolerance
already.
is huge.
The tolerance. all
Tolerance
right,
is
good.
huge.
My dear friends, I really wish there were 200 minutes in an hour.
I do too.
And we're over time. We're even though over time.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway, I just head on to it until we had the second handshake on the agreement. My dear friends, with me is my dear friend Ken Hemming, a great writer, great philosopher. We do argue, even though I love him a lot. I believe the community loves him a lot, and so do my audiences. This show is exclusively sponsored by Wolfers, a testimony to the spectacular, a share of the royal glory. We will see you till next time.